Thank you. Annette Andersson from SEB. I have a question for Jonas Lindström. The legal interception in Kazakhstan, for instance, yes. Are you aware when they do that, or do they tell you when they've been into the system?
Jonas, I'm just going to repeat the question. I'm sorry about that. So legal intercept, are we aware of it when it happens, Jonas Lindström?
No, we're not, because they have remote control from the Central National Security Police. So we have we do not have any information when they do that. That's correct. As in Kazakhstan, Baltics, and Croatia.
So not afterwards either?
Not afterwards either. That's correct.
But Jonas, if I may follow up on that one, is it possible to have a dialogue with them around the SORM system?
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. Because what we've done, is that we made sure that we know how it works. There are control functions, and there's a legal right for the individual who's been intercepted or has suspicion of that can make a claim to the authorities. That we made sure, but we don't have any information regarding the interception itself, as in the other countries. That's correct. In Sweden, Norway, and Germany, in Austria, Netherlands, the only thing we know in these countries is that we get the IP number or telephone number. They request us to intercept. We have no idea who it is, who's intercepted, and we don't know the reason. So that's the difference. And we cannot do a follow-up. If there will be anything, it will be in the media. We have no rights to follow up ourselves.
So any more questions from the floor? Yes, we have a lady in the middle.
Sara Wikman from Enact. I have a question regarding the whistleblowing function.
Yes.
You have 2 to 4 cases that you investigate per quarter. And my question is, do you communicate and show the organization that you take it seriously by using sanctions? I mean, are you are having the policy, you are implementing, you are following up, and are you also showing by having sanctions?
So the question is around our whistleblower policy. How do we follow up? How do we communicate the cases that we have when it comes to whistleblower situations?
That depends on what kind of case it is. If it's personal harassment, sexual harassment, or something else, then we do not communicate if it's too sensible for the person being victimized of it. But if it's a case of fraud or something, then of course we make a big deal of it. We make sure that the organization understands that we take action if they violate the code. Depends on what case it is. Yep. Sorry.
It's more just some secret messages to me, Jonas. But Niklas, you're welcome to join. Would you like to continue?
Yeah, please finalize your sentence. And
no, okay. No, yeah. Punkt. Now I'm done.
We have fired people, and we have fired the whole teams also based on either whistleblower or other type of investigation that what we have done. We have done that in Croatia, we have done that in Kazakhstan, we have done that in Sweden, in other places as well. So yes, we do take actions. Sometimes it's a warning. Sometimes we just do a change in the organization and the process, how we deal. It's dependent on, say, what's the nature of the case. Sometimes we don't do anything because it can be that the whistleblower, the person who made that, just tried to get some personal benefit without anything being behind that.
Would you like to continue?
Yes, please. It's important to say that whistleblower is one of many channels to report violations of any kind. Must be whistleblower in the company that we have. You could be anonymous and it handled with high confidentiality and integrity. But most of the cases that we have, as Niklas mentioned, come from people that approach the managers, other managers, a mail maybe to Mats Granryd or to security manager or whoever, or we find out ourselves. That's where we get the most of the cases. But we do have the whistleblower as a sort of one channel out of many. Okay.
So we have a follow-up question in the front, so please.
Just to follow up on the whistleblower, can I as a customer contact you regarding staff or something? Is it official?
So if our customers can find out about our whistleblower policy and make use of it, can our customers report through our whistleblower policy, Jonas?
Definitely. We get we get many complaints from customers. Not many, but most of the cases we get are from customers, because they find the whistleblower on the internet. It's not a really whistleblower case for us, but then we send it to the customer operation, and I make sure that they really handle it as a prioritized case, definitely, unless it's a violation against the code of conduct. Pretty often it's just a customer case. That's correct.
So we have a question from the gentleman in the back.
Yes, Karan Partoy from Nordea Investment Funds. Thank you for interesting presentation. I have a question perhaps to Niklas, and it's regarding the network services shut it down. If you compare that to other markets that you have operations, how would that look like? And for instance, also to the Russian operation you just sold.
So I'm going to slide over here and repeat the question. So when it comes to network shutdown, you told us about Kazakhstan, but how about the other countries that you manage, for example?
We get much more requests in Kazakhstan than in other places. And that is maybe because of the size of the country and what is really happening there. It's quite close to the Middle East and other places, and there are, unfortunately, quite many cases where actually the authorities have had to prevent crimes or terrorist attacks to happen. There might be other reasons. We don't know all of them. We only know what KMB and Ministry of Communication is telling to us. The cases varies from kidnapping of childs to terrorist cells that they try to shut down, but much more from Kazakhstan than other places. The same process, though, is implemented in all countries.
I have a follow-up question. The cost regarding to your shutdowns and the direct costs, of course, but more importantly, the indirect costs. How do you assess that? And because I suppose that you don't know for how long you have to have the network shut down when you are asked or forced even to shut them down.
So when it comes to the cost associated with network shutdown, what can we share, Niklas?
We don't get any compensation from the authorities, so we bear all the costs. In all but one case in Kazakhstan, as you showed, the customers have always been able to both use voice and data services, so we don't actually have so much revenue loss from that. And that's not the primary focus of our, or not the primary concern of our when we decide whether to shut down or not. It's more about the other aspects of this, but we bear the costs.
It's correct that you don't know when you need to shut down, for how long you have to have the network shut down. Is that correct?
Yeah. So what do we know about how long the network would be shut down when that happens, Niklas?
It depends, and in some cases we have been able to say no to the shutdown. For example, in the middle of the day, because we have said that this has a big customer impact, we have asked that is it possible to do that in, let's say, low traffic time during the night, and the answer usually is yes. If the case that KMB, for example, has on their hands. And the time, we don't know how long that will be. Sometimes we do get some estimations on that. The shortest what we have had, I think it was 4 hours. The longest has been 2 days.
Thank you very much, Niklas. Any more questions from the floor? So we have a lady in the front.
I was wondering, you've been describing the strategy and the KPIs. What about goals and timeframes for certain areas? I'm thinking of CO2 emissions, the supply chain, and so on. Is that in the pipeline, and when?
Thank you very much. I mean, I'm just going to repeat it. It's for our take-up for our podcast that is going to come later as well. But it's when it comes to, we have gone through the strategy. When it comes to target setting, goal setting, where are we when it comes to those important topics?
Regarding carbon dioxide, we will actually not put any targets on ourselves in that one. Instead, we have, I think last year, in this report, we had 2007 tons of carbon dioxide equivalents for last year. And it's quite limited, our amount. I mean, compared, Vattenfall have 90 million tons, so it's so our carbon dioxide is quite a small thing. And regarding supply chain, that was also one of the reasons why we joined JESI, because there we are 30 companies or organizations which do have a supply chain audit database where we can share audits and we can cooperate. And also as an industry, as an ICT industry, we can have one set of requirements and demands on suppliers. And that, I think that would be very favorable instead of that each individual company would have their own requirements and their standards and their own questionnaires. So for those, that were the answers. Regarding the focus areas, this is something we will look into and put more targets and make it clearer for this year and many more years to come.
Thank you, Marie. Any more questions? We have yet another question from the lady.
Yes, my name is Gunilla Hahn. I also work for the Church of Sweden with the investment department. And I wondered, I have two questions. First of all, I wondered these so-called terrorists that they want to shut down the system for in Kazakhstan. Have you ever tried to do a little investigation if it's really terrorists or if it's not journalists or political opposition groups? That's one part. The other question is about this carbon dioxide reduction. You said you could really do a lot of impact on other industry groups with your products. Do you have a strategy for that? And you know, it sounds very innovative and a big business opportunity part. So it would be nice to hear something more about that. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a first question then when it comes to network shutdown because of terrorist activity. Have we ever been able to identify those as terrorist attacks specifically? That is a question for Niklas, but then we also have carbon dioxide and improvement of products. If we have any specific ways forward to bring forward products that could facilitate that, for example. I would like to invite maybe Marie first to answer the last question, and then I have time to give the mic to Niklas in the meeting.
Yes, and thanks both Gunilla and Sarah. I think this is, you bring so many good ideas, and this is what we appreciate with having the Church of Sweden as one of our investors and owners. But no, we don't have that at the moment. We have more defined the area as a huge opportunity. And as soon as I think we have this day is over and we will have wrap up and feedback from all the dialogues. I think this will be on top of Mats' agenda to continue with.
It seems like we have to give Mats an opportunity to answer that one before.
I just got an action point. Thank you very much, Marie. No, but I would say it's a very good question, and obviously, you know, it's on top of our minds. Today we launched a mobile soft switch. It's not sort of so much carbon footprint impacting, but surely there will be more applications coming. You know, we try to find new ways of making money, and this is the beauty of CR when good things go hand in hand with us making money. So it's a really strong drive for us to continue to push for video conferencing, fleet management, machine-to-machine devices of various sorts. That will come in the near future, no doubt. And we are pushing our presence, at least in Sweden, quite a lot in the business-to-business segment. And that's where you would typically find those type of applications. So no doubt that will come, no doubt.
Okay, so Niklas, now you had some time to think about your question, so please.
Well, your question is very relevant because Kazakhstan is not the easiest environment for journalists to work in. But my question is quite, my answer is quite long. I tried to be precise, but it's a complicated question. First of all, the authorities, if they want to arrest a journalist, they don't need our help. They can go and get that person. If they want to listen to the phone calls of that person, they don't need us either there because they have basically the access to the system if the prosecutor allows them. So it's not so that they can just do it. They need the prosecutor or the court order, but they don't need us. If they want to shut down a newspaper, they can do that without our help. KMB is not reporting back to us on these cases, so we don't have full information on what they are actually doing. But we have, of course, always asked, and we always get an answer to the extent what they can reveal to us. And our security classification is not the highest in the country, so we will not get there, not in other countries either, the full information. But there have been explosions, we know that, and we can read about those in the newspaper. If there is no explosion, if they have managed to prevent that, most likely we cannot read that from the newspapers. In some cases, we have been able to do that. But we need to trust the information what they give to us, and then with a proper dialogue try to really understand what is going on. My understanding is that these shutdowns, and I want to repeat that all the voice services and data services, except in one case, have always been available for the consumers and the businesses. In these cases, the authorities have tried to locate clearly in what apartment, in what building the crooks are, and what are their plans. They are usually armed people, so they need to be very careful to when to attack those and arrest them. And this will help them to do that. That's our understanding.
But Niklas, we do always question a decision for a network shutdown.
Yes, we always ask the reason, and we asked, say, why are you doing this? Can we limit the scope in terms of number of base stations, or can we adjust the time for that so that it's disturbing as less customers as possible and these type of things. And usually they are responsive to these type of questions and dialogue.
So Jonas Lindström, would you like to...
I just want to repeat what Niklas said before. We are the first operator in Kazakhstan who actually made this process, formal process on how to shut down the network and what to request, what kind of questions we have beforehand and what they need to answer to us before we make the shutdown. That did not exist until Tele2 came, so we started the process anyway, so we're on the way.
So Marie, would you like to continue to build on Jonas Lindström?
I mean, yes, both in this one and to Annette's previous question there regarding interception. And in the Baltics, Croatia and Kazakhstan, our countries, and in many more countries, with the system that Jonas described, it cuts out the operator from being part of the interception process. But the key here is really the general prosecutor, who is the surveillance authority for ensuring that the system is working. So any kind of suspicions or misuse or something, I think that the key is to reach out to the general prosecutor and push there, because that's where things can happen.
We have time for one more question, but then of course we have a lot of time for mingling and talking together after this one. We invite you to join us for some quick bite to eat as well. But I would like to invite a gentleman in the back for a question.
Thank you. I thought that Jonas Bengtsson also should have one. So it's about licenses.
Yes.
And I wonder if there are any examples or for example, where you have been in doubt regarding transactions or buying licenses, because you have this nice checklist, etc. And if you have any experience from that.
In my experience, no. There may have been. I know what we have applied it successfully, and that has clarified everything. For instance, one of these sort of complementary licenses that were made available to existing operators in Kazakhstan. We're always coming back to Kazakhstan now, but that was just the most recent example. And then, for instance, we ran through this list, and Niklas very diligently requested that the ministry sent their account details, and we checked that with the bank and everything to make sure that actually the account was held by the correct entity within the government, which it was. Otherwise, we would of course not have paid. So no, as far as I know, we have never actually found any troublesome information while running through that checklist regarding licenses, I should say. No.
Of course you can, but you need a mic, and you're going to get it from me.
I want to add that Jonas is absolutely right that in those countries where we have operation today, we have not found that. But we have found those cases in countries that we have decided not to go into because of these reasons. So we have rejected acquisition opportunities because of these reasons.
to continue. Yes, as I said, regarding licenses, no. In what I said, sort of a variation of this checklist is something we try to apply to all kind of transactions, all kind of entries. And there definitely, yes. I mean, well, stands to reason that we have now and then found things that does not make sense, and then we have had, well, the lack or good judgment to say no to those transactions. Yeah.
Thank you very much, and I would like to thank everyone that has participated from Tele2 side, and also thank you very much for a good Q&A session. I hope that we now can invite you to continue to discuss with a quick bite, and with that I would like to thank you very much for participating at our very first Capital Markets Day for CR related topics. Thank you.